Hi everyone, my name's Nicole Elizabeth. I'm an animal communicator from Australia, and I just wanted to hop on today and speak to everyone about how do you deal with a pet that has a serious condition. So I'm going to explain a bit about my life to you because, some people may think as an animal communicator, my animals act perfectly, everything goes well, but that's just not the case. With me, I own an animal sanctuary. As you can probably hear my roosters in the background. And I have dealt with a lot of sickness, a lot of death, and a lot of heartache. And I find that the animals are teaching me lessons. And I just want to bring that to the humans because they're not really owners. We're humans. We live in the same place. We love our animals as if they're our children. And it's really devastating when we get a diagnosis from a vet of cancer, of liver failure, of kidney disease, of all these diseases and illnesses and sicknesses that we know ultimately will take their life. So I just wanted to hop on and explain the situation I'm going through and have been going through for the past year in the hope that I'll help people that are going through the same thing or a similar thing in their life. So I'll start from the very beginning. So I've mentioned that I have an animal sanctuary, but before all this started, my husband had a cousin that lived in a different state to us that all of a sudden, one day out of the blue, decided to kill himself. Now, no one predicted that he would do this. It was actually on the 7th of the 7th, 2014. And he posted on Facebook, I believe it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and by 7:30, he was dead. So it was really traumatic and really took the family by surprise, and no one expected it. But what everyone seemed to forget about was his dog. Now, he had this American Staffy, which he loved with all his heart. He was going to move to the same state as we were in with his pup. And I say it was a pup because he was about 2. Now, he loved this dog more than life itself. But unfortunately, and I'm not judging him for his decision, that was his decision. But unfortunately, his dog was sort of left to the side, understandably, because everyone was focused on him. Now, when we flew down to the funeral, I just flippantly mentioned to the girlfriend, how's Asha doing? How's the dog doing? And she said to me, and I don't want to say this to create judgment on her, I just want to let you know the story. When I asked her how Asha, the dog, was doing, the response was, I gave him up, and the hand action. And no judgment to her, she did say that he reminded her too much of the person who had passed and she couldn't handle it. So I looked at my husband at the funeral and he knew exactly what my look meant. Now, by the time we had flown back and I'd been in my car for 10 minutes, I wasn't driving, he was driving, I had found him. I'd found him at the pound. Now, to our surprise, he had been at the pound for a week and he was on the put to sleep list because American Staffies in Australia are very difficult to rehome. A lot of them are very hyperactive and, it's just not a dog, not a breed that a lot of people will take on. Anyway, I found him and I just went, not happening. We're getting him. We already had 2 dogs of our own. We had to apply for the process to get more than 2 dogs because in Australia you need a license, which we do have now. Now we have a license to have 4 dogs. We have an animal keeping license, which ties in well with our animal sanctuary. But we had to go through that process. And it was a process that just seemed to happen seamlessly. And it was a process that normally takes weeks and weeks and weeks, and it happened within days. It was definitely divine appointed. We had this dog shipped up. He had his challenges, and he's been with us for 8 years. We love him to death as if he's our dog. We do call him our Earth's foster because we know that when he does pass, he will be going back to his dad. It's been predetermined. And he's allowed us to have this dog in our lives for 8 years. Last year, just after his 9th birthday, he was diagnosed with bone cancer. And I've had a friend who's passed away and she had bone cancer. And I remember speaking to her on the phone and she explained to me how excruciating it is and how she finds it difficult to walk. And she said the drugs can't hide the pain. So when we found out he had when he had bone cancer in his right leg, the decision was to amputate the leg purely for pain comfort. It was I just had her in my ear. I know she's passed, but I just had her in my ear saying, it's so painful, it's so painful. Now, I checked with Asha, obviously, because I communicated with him. And we have a decision to make. We can proceed with this line of treatment with life, but I will help you cross if that's the better way to go. Now, obviously, having a sanctuary, we've had to make difficult calls in the future. I've had other dogs in the past where I've had to make that call. And as a pet owner, it is a very difficult call to make. It is one of the most difficult calls you can make. But I was willing to make it to help him. If it meant that much pain and if he was done, we would help him cross, because it is purely a gift to help them cross. And that's another thing I want to tell people, that when you have an animal that is in pain and they don't want to go on anymore and you help them cross and you put them to sleep, it's a gift. So I want to relieve that guilt from people as pet owners, because we're not really owners, we're guardians, we're meant to be in this life together. So I checked in with him and he was like, no, I want this. And of course, being my pet, I had to really put my feelings aside, because it's like, am I making this up? Because as a pet owner, we would think that. But it was just so obvious. He still has this will to live. And so we proceeded. We had his leg amputated, and it was amazing that he just got up, started walking on 3 legs. He was never stressed about it. He just went, okay, cool, got 3 legs, let's go. He just took to it so well. We also did do a round of chemo on the basis that if it affected his quality of life and if he was sick constantly from the medication, we would not put him through that. It is not worth his quality of life. We'd want quality over quantity, and we want to do what's best for him. And you know what? He went through several months of chemo, and you could never tell. He just took it like a champion. He wasn't even sick. And it was crazy, because even people that have had put their pets through chemo would see him the next day after a treatment and be like, there's no way you can tell he had chemo. He just has this fight in him to live. So we've done that. We did that and he was fine. And then, also our words are healing. We did, as a Reiki master, I did Reiki on him a couple of times a week. And I feel that actually helped him accept the treatment and accept the path and help him with his decision. Now, I absolutely feel that he has been okay with this path. And it's just recently that, you just know something's wrong with your pet, and you can't always tell what it is. And from me as an animal communicator, I can tell you what the animal's feeling. I can tell you how they feel about the situation, but I'm not a vet, so I can't diagnose, and I can't say, yes, well, this, and this. No, because as a pet, they can say, I'm not feeling well. I don't feel well here. And that's what I can bring through as an animal communicator. So I knew something wasn't right. And he had an issue with the back leg that he had remaining. And I just knew, you know how you know. And you know this because as guardians of pets, you know when something's not right with your pet. So we took him to the vet. We had a look, he had an x-ray, and his lumps hadn't increased. His lumps, and that's very odd for an animal that had bone cancer and then a few spots in the lungs to not have it increase. Even though he went through chemo, it was sort of like buying him time. Still, 6 months post-chemo, nothing had changed. Now, his knee, he needed an operation because it's very important that he has that back leg. So we took him to a specialist on the vet's advice. We did cost us like $2,000 to get this scan. It didn't matter. The cost wasn't the problem. We were borrowing the money. I did not care, as long as he was okay and I knew what the problem was. Now, the scan had just come through with obviously what we knew in the lungs and a few other spots that we weren't aware of. And the specialist said, don't proceed with the knee because you're dealing with bigger issues, which we took on. The specialist also said to look at this dog, you would have no idea that he's going through this because he has this will to live. which is good validation for me as, an animal communicator, to know that I was definitely picking up on his intentions and wills, which can sometimes be difficult on your own pets because you have such an emotional attachment to them. That's why it's generally better to get an outside source to deal with your animals. So we went through that. And I know this is a long video. I am going to wrap it up. But basically, with the scan and with everything, we're looking at palliative care for him. Now, when you're dealing with that situation, when you're dealing with quite potentially you are going to have to put this animal to sleep, and you have to be guided by this pet as to when, because it's difficult to explain, but when you've had a pet in that situation, sorry about my rooster, you just know. You just get that inkling, that feeling, because they're pushing out with you. You know when they're done. Now, I am particularly going to be looking out for those signs for him. But we're taking every day as a blessing. So the whole point of this video is to share the story of Asha and to help people. If you're in that situation, if you're in the situation where you have a pet diagnosed with a very serious illness, disease, and you are potentially looking at that path, I want you to reframe it, because every soul, whether it be animal or human, has a plan, has a path, and a purpose. This dog has taught me so much in my life. He has been with me for 8 years, and he has been an amazing teacher. And he is being a teacher in this illness. He is telling us and showing us to reframe this. This is and it can be a very anxiety-ridden, anxiety-provoking situation. But he's saying, no, don't look at it like that. He's saying, I'm blessed and you're blessed, because we know we have a limited amount of time together, and we can really appreciate every day together. And it's not just the week before we have to put him to sleep that we give him every treat, every love. It's every day. And every day we wake up now and we say to him, every day with you is a blessing. Every day with you is another chance to learn from you and to show love. And he's definitely that, animal that shows unconditional love, and he shows us how to value what's important in life. And so I just wanted to share that with you, because if you're going through this situation, if you're going through a hard situation with your pet, if you're going through a really tough time with your pet, reframe it. If you're, going through a stage where quite possibly you're going to have to put this pet to sleep, and putting them to sleep is a gift when they're at that end stage. But if you're going through that, please listen to him, because he's teaching us how to really value what's important in life and how to really reframe situations, and that this is actually a blessing. Some pet owners don't get a warning. Some pet owners have their animals go missing and they never get them. Some of them have, their animals hit by a car. Some of them wake up and their animals passed. There are some horrific ways to lose a pet, but we have this beautiful opportunity to shower them with love and to be guided by them and to really focus on what's important in life. And it's actually a real blessing that we get to treat and see him every day. And every morning, if you're going through this, wake up and say to your pet, every day with you is a blessing, and I appreciate every day. So I hope that's brought some comfort to people that are going through a really tough time. Please feel free to reach out, because I really understand what it's like to go through a situation like this. But animals are teachers. I guess 2 things they want to teach us in life: how to love unconditionally and how to forgive. And he's really showing that to us, and he's really teaching that. And I've been taught this in the past, but he's really drilling down on it. And, every day with him truly is a gift. And I'm thankful for every day we have with him. It may not be long, but it's a blessing. And so I'm going to leave it there, but I just want to let you know what he feels about the situation and how he's pushing it through. And he's led me to do this long video, but it's important, because each day with an animal like that is truly a blessing. So I hope this has been a blessing to you. And please reach out if you just need to chat and talk about the situation that you're going through in your life. But I really, really hope that this helps reframe a situation in your life and see it as a blessing. Okay, well, I'll speak to you guys another time, and thank you for listening to such a long video. Bye.